Ponderosa Steakhouse and Bonanza Steakhouse are a chain of buffet steakhouse restaurants that started in 1963. Welcome to Eric C. Productions. If this is your first time watching one of my videos, please hit that subscribe button and notification bell so that you get notified of my latest video that are posted during the week. Be sure to hit that like button and leave a suggestion or a comment. You might see that video in a future posting. This video was suggested by It's Joshua Jerry. Thanks for the suggestion.
I remember back when my father took us out to eat, and did we look forward to it. Steak, potatoes, salad. Father used to call it a square meal. Well, now I'm a grandfather, and I still go out for a square meal. The Ponderosa, for steak, baked potato, salad, at old-fashioned square deal prices. Right, kids?
Right on, Gramps.
Right on.
Square meal at Ponderosa.
In 1963, Dan Blocker, who played Eric Haas Cartwright on Bonanza, started the Bonanza Steakhouse chain. The first Bonanza opened in Westport, Connecticut. Sam Wiley and his brother Charles bought the small Bonanza restaurant chain 3 years later. In 1965, Dan Lasseter, Norm Weiss, and Charles Kleps founded Ponderosa in Kokomo, Indiana, moving the headquarters to Dayton, Ohio in 1971. Bonanza International had been founded in Dallas by the Wiley brothers, Sam and Charles, in 1963 and was beginning to develop a national presence. But instead of buying a Bonanza franchise, Weiss and Lasseter worked with their own albeit similar concept, which they called the Ponderosa. Both Ponderosa and Bonanza menus featured a limited selection of steaks served with baked potatoes, salad, and a dinner roll. Cafeteria-style service kept labor costs low, and the use of lower-grade meat tenderized with enzymes helped keep food costs low. Much of the savings was passed on to the customer. Ponderosa's basic dinner cost just $1.39. The Indiana chain later bought its own beef processing subsidiary, ESI Meats, to further cut costs. In keeping with the restaurant's shared Western theme, competition between Bonanza and Ponderosa was wild. When the Wileys discovered the threat from the north, they looked for ways to trip up their new rival. Lasseter related on one of their skirmishes in an interview, "When the Bonanza International people saw that we were starting a steakhouse, they hot-footed down and trademarked the Ponderosa name, which we had forgotten to do. We were pretty upset, but I got to wondering how smart they really were. They hadn't trademarked their own name, so I went down and trademarked Bonanza, and we ended up swapping off with them." From 1968 to 1969 alone, Ponderosa's system sales multiplied from less than $1 million to $3.5 million, but this chain soon encountered a problem endemic to the fast food industry during this period: uncontrolled growth. We didn't have any controls, and we were having management problems. Money was going into unproductive investments like land, and legitimate creditors like equipment manufacturers weren't being paid. The company was insolvent by December of 1969, and some creditors made moves to foreclose. The chain's credit was so bad that Weiss and Lasseter were forced to take out personal loans to keep it afloat. By mid-1971, the company had recovered enough to warrant a new stock offering. By 1972, it surpassed Bonanza to become the country's largest steakhouse chain. Ponderosa's managers got their first inkling of the beef industry's cyclical nature when in the mid-1970s recession saw earnings tumble by more than 80%, but the chain recovered along with the nation in the late 1970s. The roller coaster ride continued in the 1980s, however. From 1980 to 1985, Ponderosa's return on equity averaged 9.9%, compared to 15% for Los Angeles-based Sizzler International, an up-and-comer that appealed to a more upscale clientele. Ponderosa's poor results were blamed on a variety of problems. Over half the chain's restaurants were located in the Midwest Rust Belt, which was then enduring a major transition from its traditional manufacturing base to a more service-oriented economic base. Moreover, due to the lack of reinvestment, Ponderosa's restaurants were becoming run down and dated. The company also failed to quickly change its menus to accommodate American dietary trends that were increasingly calling for healthier fare, such as fish and chicken. Ponderosa became a target of several takeover attempts during this period. The first came in 1980 when General Host Corp., the Stamford, Connecticut parent of Hickory Farms, made its play for the steakhouses. And then in 1984, third-ranking Bonanza USA Cafes tendered a $154.8 million takeover for Ponderosa. Ponderosa's takeover defense cost it hundreds of thousands of dollars, but the company did manage to repel the threat. The mid to late 1980s deteriorated into a baffling and demoralizing time for Ponderosa, and especially for its franchises, which operated over 40% of the chain's more than 650 locations. Increased competition within the budget steak segment combined with management and ownership instability to create an extremely difficult operating environment. Corporate instituted the Grand Buffet concept, an 80-item all-you-can-eat food bar. Although the Grand Buffet would become a popular feature at Ponderosa, it initially infuriated franchisees. Specifically, franchisees believed that the Grand Buffet raised their costs, while discounts and couponing intended to increase traffic and thereby raise cash flow, only squeezed the profits. In 1988, Ponderosa was sold to Metro Media. Metro Media had acquired the Bonanza chain before the Ponderosa purchase. In spite of their apparent similarities, Ponderosa and Bonanza had evolved into two different enterprises. Ponderosa's mostly company-owned units were concentrated in the Midwest. Bonanza had developed into a pure franchisor with only two company-owned locations. Most of its restaurants were located in the Southwest. In 1997, Ponderosa and Bonanza united under the Metro Media Family Steakhouses organization to be marketed under the Ponderosa or Bonanza brands. The chain's parent company, Metro Media Steakhouses Company, filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in 2008, although it planned to reorganize around franchise operations and a profitable core of company-operated restaurants. It emerged from bankruptcy in 2009 under the name Homestyle Dining, LLC. There were, at one point, 305 Ponderosas and sister buffet Bonanzas in the United States. The chain was sold in late 2017 to Fat Brands, owner of Fatburger, Buffalo's Cafe, Hurricane Grill and Wings, Hurricane BTW, that had a total of approximately 300 locations open and 300 still under development in 32 countries. By 2019, there were only 75 locations left. As of 2021, there are less than 23 Ponderosa and Bonanza locations left in the United States. Hey, if you just watched my video, thanks for watching. Hit that like button and please subscribe to Eric C. Productions.